Welcome to another episode of Puff Daddy Reef. Today I'll be talking about the 10 things I hate about the Red Sea Reefer 650 Peninsula. But before we get started, I'm going to give a shout out to a up-and-coming YouTube channel that I like. Every video now, I'm trying to point out new cool YouTube channels that have reefers giving great information to you. And usually these channels are going to be channels with less subscribers than myself. I'm trying to bring up the whole reefing community and get as much great content out there as possible. So today's featured reefing channel is Bahama Llama Coral. He makes really good videos. He puts a lot of effort in them. So check out Bahama Llama Coral. You won't be disappointed. It's getting real. These are the 10 things I hate about this aquarium. If you haven't seen my video about the 10 things I love about it, and believe me, the things I love about it far outweigh the things that I hate about it, but I wanted to make sure I covered my bases. Please check out my channel. The first thing that I hate about this tank is that, well, they use these awesome epoxy doors, and they are so great. The doors themselves are durable and impervious to salt. They look really good, they're shiny, they're classy, but the side panels of the tank look like regular plywood with different sorts of, I don't know, just laminate on top. And it actually feels a lot cheaper, it looks a lot cheaper, and it doesn't seem to go as well with the whole tank. You have these nice shiny bright white doors, and then the side of the tank just has a completely different texture. You can actually see the seams on it, and I kind of wish that the stand was all made out of this epoxy material. So you let me know if you have the same opinions or if you prefer the wood here. I have not had any problems with salt creep or delaminating or anything like that, which I actually thought I would, but I do prefer the epoxy here. So the first thing I hate about it is that this awesome epoxy material is not used on all of the panels of the aquarium. The second thing that I hate about this aquarium while we're here is the hinges on these doors. They are very difficult to tune in, and they also wear and slip and get out of alignment over time. They're just not strong enough for the tank. It looks like some of the screws in them have actually rusted a little, and so I do not like the hinges to these doors one bit. So you can see that the hinges, I mean, they are professional hinges, so you can adjust them however you would like. However, I don't know if they're reefing grade hinges. They are cabinetry grade hinges, which just might not be enough for me. So this tank comes with its own auto top-off reservoir, and they actually have these these glass tracks along the sump to hold that reservoir up. One thing you might have noticed is that I do not have this reservoir installed anymore because it's just too small. For a tank this large to have an auto top-off reservoir that is only about, I think I measured it out, it's about 8 gallons in volume, that just will not cut it. And so that is the third thing that I hate about this aquarium. While we're down at the sump, let's talk about the fourth thing that I hate about this aquarium is the glass partitions in the sump. Now, if you buy a commercial sump, one that's specifically designed for aquariums, almost always those sumps are made out of some sort of acrylic, polycarbonate, some sort of material that is a thick, heavy plastic. Now, with Red Sea, they decided to go with glass. They have lots of glass, they're making aquariums, I guess it makes sense. But the problem with the glass is twofold. It makes the sump really, really heavy, so it's difficult to move, rearrange, get installed. Once it's installed, you really don't have to worry about that. But the second thing is, in a sump, you're bringing equipment in and out, you have rocks in and out, you're doing a lot of stuff, messing around in there on a more regular basis. And the partitions they have in here are very thin because they're not holding back a lot of water, so they designed them to be durable to the amount of maybe water force, but not durable to knocks and bumps. And so I have actually broken the tip of this glass divider in the sump, and most of the sump's holding together, but I just wish I didn't have to worry about cutting myself on that broken piece of glass from maybe bumping it with a rock or something. If it was plastic, we wouldn't have to deal with that, or if they use thicker glass, which would create other problems, it would be even heavier. The fifth thing that I do not like about this is that the auto top-off system itself, so I already talked about the reservoir was too small. But the auto top-off system is prone to clogging. So basically the auto top-off system has a tube. That tube goes down to a float valve. The diameter of the tube kind of narrows as it goes into the float valve. That allows the float valve to kind of pinch off the flow of water. It's a completely passive system, which is nice, but that little tube can clog with debris. So it's a piece of maintenance that is kind of annoying to maintain. You have to clean that out. And then the other thing about this auto top-off system that's bugged me is I actually have broke it on accident. So like I said, it's not as durable. It's in a part of the sump where you're moving rocks around and stuff. And I accidentally hit a rock that actually knocked off the plastic piece that goes to that float switch in the back. So a couple of reasons why I don't like the auto top-off system that came with it. But fortunately, you can just get your own and use your own top-off system. If you want to see how I installed an auto top-off system in this with a custom container that's pretty cool, I have a video for that. I'll put a link in the description or probably right above for that. So just to recap, the first 5 things that I hate about this aquarium are: 1, the side panels are a different material than the doors. The epoxy doors are awesome. Wish the whole tank was like that. 2, the hinges come loose and they rust. 3, the ATO reservoir is a little bit too small. 4, the sump glass partitions break easily. And 5, the ATO system is prone to clogging and also can break. Now's the time to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, hit that button right now. I'll get to 10,000 subscribers. That'll help me unlock new features to deliver you new types of content through short stories and other things. So please do that, and thank you so much for watching. Let's get to the next 5 things plus 2 bonuses that I hate about this aquarium. A lot of these things seem to be in the sump, even though the sump is also a great thing about it because it's so large. But the filter sock holders for this aquarium are kind of annoying. Basically, they are designed to only work with Red Sea's filter socks. They don't work with standard general filter socks. The opening on these filter sock holders are a little bit more narrow than a standard filter sock holder, so not all filter socks will work in them, but Red Sea's are guaranteed to work in them. And also because they slide in and out with this little panel here, they have to actually be pressed down pretty low and flush to slide in without catching that top. So this is a problem for me. It kind of forces you to buy a lot of filter socks from them. Or I guess if you want, you could just not use that and install like a filter roll or something. But you might actually have to rip a component out of the tank to use a filter roller. The 7th thing that I hate about this aquarium is the overflow. So the overflow for the aquarium has basically a primary drain and then an emergency drain. And the primary drain is basically a big wide tube, and it has a valve, and you kind of tune the valve so that it is draining almost everything and a tiny bit is going down the emergency drain, and that makes it pretty quiet. But the overflow kind of acts up once in a while, and you have to kind of mess with this valve. And the valve is kind of, I would just say it's kind of finicky. So it's not one of those super high quality, heavy duty gate valves that you might buy when you're building your own system. So that's something to consider. The 8th thing that I hate about this aquarium, once again, we are still in the sump, is these rails for the auto top-off have too much friction. So one of the selling points with this in-sump auto top-off system is it sits in the sump on these rails, and then you can slide it back and forth. And these rails, just when it's full of water, have too much friction. You really can't slide it to like do work in the tank. So it's another thing to motivate me to just get my own external auto top off. The 9th thing that I hate about this aquarium is there is some assembly required. And by some assembly required, what I mean is the stand for the tank basically ships in like a whole bunch of boxes. It's not pre-assembled, and you have to build it like a piece of IKEA furniture. If you've built a lot of IKEA furniture, you'll do great. If you haven't, I have a whole video of my entire stand build. I'll post a link up to that, and it'll also be in the description, so you can watch me build the whole thing. I actually fast forward it really quick, so it's kind of just fun to watch all the pieces come together, but it was not that fun to build. The 10th thing I hate about this tank is that within the sump, to get from the sump to the utility chamber where you put your wiring and stuff, there's no sort of low-lying pass-through. So all of the pass-throughs, there's like a little pass-through, like a little dip in the wall up high that allows you to pass like wires and cables and stuff through, but there's not a low one that would allow you to use something like a skimmate locker or directly pass through tubes for a dosing pump. So I actually drilled a hole through that myself. It'd be cool if it had a hole in there, maybe like pouched up with a plug. That would be nice, but I just drilled a hole through it myself. Bonus round. The 11th thing I don't like about it is the filter sock holder. The whole area is not just like removable. So even when you take out the filter sock trays, there's still like a tray, like a cassette holder thing there. And so if you wanted to do something more custom there, you'd probably just have to rip that out. The 12th thing is that it doesn't come with like a lock line return. Almost everyone in the aquarium hobby uses lock line, and these lock line is basically these segmented directional water spouts. And almost everyone uses that, but this basically comes with a simple port that doesn't seem too standard to me. You can't just add lock line on it. What I ended up doing is adding like a piece of rubber tubing to connect a lock line with a fitting to the little spout at the end. So I think we got to, 2 honorable mentions, 10 things I hate about this aquarium. Please check out my video last week on the 10 things that I loved about this aquarium. It's been 2.5 years, and I would say overall, I am very, very pleased to have had this Red Sea Reefer 650 Peninsula aquarium. It's been a great home for my fish, a great home for my coral, and a great starter home for my little shark, who is now getting to be about 11 inches. Napoleon, he's about 1.5 years old. He is growing a lot, so also check out my videos on them. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for joining us here today, and I'll catch you next time on another episode of Puff Daddy Reef.